Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome back to There Is Always More. Once again, I'm your host, Nicole Segovia, and we are already on episode number 10. That is insane to me when I think about that. I'm like, dang, I've been doing this for 10 weeks, and I'm still just as excited as the first episode. So, once again, thank you so much for joining. And today I wanted to talk about why and how and what I'm doing to become more financially literate. For those of you who know me, know that I started working at a very young age, and so with that came the responsibility of obviously money and understanding like what money's value and like how quick it can go. Like I can spend money in like 5 seconds and it'll be completely gone. So definitely I've been through a different journey, different stages in my life where I've been broke, like negative in the account, and then I've been into stages where I've like been really good at saving, which is where I am now. So let me talk about why I want to become more financially literate to start off. So in all honesty, I feel really behind for my age, and I feel really lost when it comes to talking about money and how it can actually help you become more successful. I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about a lot of the time. So I really just wanted to pick up a book and do some research on my own to get more knowledge when it comes to that, because money is always going to be a topic of conversation. It's always going to be in our lives, as we have put a big emphasis and value on money. So I also think that, or I thought that high school would have taught me that a little bit more in my econ class, but we learned more about like tax laws like back in the day, not so much like our taxes now, how much we get taxed on this and that and like things like that. And so I didn't learn fully about taxes, investing, making smart moves, like assets and liabilities. Of course I know what they are now, but I feel like these classes are much more needed in our high school classes, especially maybe like junior, senior year, when you're heading towards the end. We're turning 18, we become adults, and we start making, bigger financial decisions. And so I really wish that I would have learned more back then, but here I am now, 21 years old, investing in myself and making sure that I am fully aware of the money decisions that I will make in the future. I also started working, like I said, at a very young age, and so I used to think like, oh my god, I have $500, like I'm so rich, and now I'm like, girl, you barely have $500, like you need to slow down. So definitely I've seen the growth when it comes to understanding like how quick money can leave my bank account when it comes to making sure I have all my bills paid first, and then whatever I have left to save, and trying to have room to have some fun. It's hard because I can only work so many hours due to school. I also coach. I've always been a person to have like, I do a lot at the same time, so I have like different avenues of making money. It's just that I'm not always good about saving, if I'm being completely honest, and I've been working on that because I do have goals, and I have an accountability partner, which would be my boyfriend, and so he's way like 20,000 times better at saving money, so props to him for that. But I am not that girl, but we are learning to be that girl, because this girl needs to get her stuff together if I want to have a successful future. So I also started a book club with my friends, and we're reading a financial book, of course, which goes perfectly with this episode. And the book we're reading is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it. If you have not, literally on chapter 3, 10 out of 10 recommend. I recommend it. You should go out. You should read it. Start a book club with your friends. It's amazing. I think it's cool, the whole book club thing, because we're able to like trust each other when we talk about numbers, and like there's no judgment for sure. So we're like able to be really, really raw and like talk about what really bothers us, like our weaknesses. For example, mine would be saving, and we've already talked about this. We had our first book club meeting last week, and it was super fun, so I really had fun doing that. But anyways, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I want to talk about a few of the things that I've gained so far from the book. We've only discussed the introduction in chapter 1 with my book club, so I'm not going to go into 2 and 3, but I will tell you what I have gained thus far. So the first topic, and honestly this one like stabbed me right in the heart. Like I have never read something that described me so perfectly. So they talk a lot about like fear and opportunities, and when I talk about fear, I'm talking about some people work out of fear. out of fear to not be able to pay their bills, out of fear to not be able to, you know, like be able to go to school, send their kids to school, have their kids, you know, do extracurricular activities, have their kids get toys and all those things. Like we work because we're afraid of not being able to provide for ourselves or the people that we care about. And that's me. I literally work to pay bills, to pay school, and to try and have some extra fun money, right? But that was me from a very young age. Like I've always been able to, like, I want money because I wanted to do this and that. And I always felt really bad asking my mom for money, as she already was a single parent. So like I was like, well, if I want to do all these things, like I might need a job. My mom was, again, never one to force me to work. She wasn't like, oh, you're 16 now, like, are you gonna get a job? What's going on? You know, like she never did that to me. So it was all me. I wanted to work. But I thought it was really interesting how the book brought up the fact that like a lot of people work out of fear. And then the book talks about like, what is your actual passion? And luckily, maybe you actually work in your passion, and that's super cool. Like maybe you're a nurse and you've always had a passion for helping others, and like that's just what you love to do, and that's great. And that means that you're doing exactly what you should be doing. But in my case, my passion has nothing to do with being a barista, literally zero. And so the reason that I work is to be able to afford life in general. But the book also made a good point about like your passion does not have to make you millions of dollars. Like it's called a passion for a reason. Your passion is kind of like your calling. It's what you were put on this earth to do. And so your passion doesn't have to make you thousands of dollars. For example, my podcast, I love to do it every Monday. I look forward to doing it. I love giving you guys great content. I love the feedback. I love like the DMs I get on Instagram about like, oh my God, you've like really like, I tuned in today and like, I needed it and you're this and that. And I was like, wow, like just literally getting one person's feedback that is obviously positive makes the world of a difference for me. Like I will literally do my podcast for that one person. Like that's my mindset. I don't need 1,000+ subscribe. Like I don't need that. Like my sole purpose for this podcast is because I love to do it, and it's a way for me to get things off my chest and hopefully educate others that are maybe going through the same stuff. So that's a perfect example of how your passion does not have to make you millions of dollars, because I'm making zero, if I'm being completely honest, and that's completely okay. I didn't come into this like expecting to make hundreds of dollars, so I'm not in it for that. And I also think that the book talks about like how we all have a very common view of money. Like you work, you pay your bills, you wake up, you do it again. You work, you pay. It's just a cycle. And I feel like a lot of us are that way because that's how we grew up. Like our parents, I mean, my mom's the same thing. Like, you know, you need to go to work because you have to have money to do this and that. Like nothing is free, literally nothing. So I think the way that I grew up was definitely something that influenced my thoughts about money and like the way that I go about things now. Not so much when I was younger, because like I said, I blew every single paycheck, and I'll be 100% transparent. It was mostly on fast food. That's what I did. Off-campus card to OK High School, fast food every day. That's what took my money. But I think growing up with my mom, and I'm not going to sit here and say like we struggled, because like we didn't. I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like we were below the poverty line, like none of that. But I definitely saw, you know, her give up a few things that she like normally had, like whether it was nails or I don't know, like little extra stuff that is expensive that you don't need, it's just a want. And I saw her like give up some stuff so that we could, you know, like pay rent or things like that. And even now, obviously we're in a way better place, but it's still not paycheck to paycheck, but there's still that conversation of like, well, we can't do this because we have to do, like, it's still there. And so that to me is also super cool, because from a very young age, I was able to kind of establish like my respect for obviously my mom, but like my respect for like money and like its value and how it doesn't grow on trees, and like you have to work hard to like get what you really, really want, and like all these things that I grew up like hearing, but I was never thrown into it. Like I never fully understood it until finally it clicked. And so now I'm a lot different when it comes to that, because I think about like one day if I have kids, like I would never want them to see that or have to feel like they couldn't have something because we didn't have the finances for it. But at the same time, I also think it's really important for kids to understand that you do have to work hard for what you want, and mom and dad should not just hand you everything that you want, because in my opinion, like I'm a better person because I had to work so hard to get where I am today. And that's just how I was raised. Of course, people have their own opinions on that. I am by far and in no way, shape, or form a parent, so I can't really like talk about how I would tell my kids, but from my own experience, that's how I would handle that situation. I have never been handed everything in my life. I have had to work for it, and it has made me a stronger person mentally. And so I think that's a really important trait that I hope to pass on to my kids one day. But you guys obviously have your own opinion, which is completely fine. We're all raised a lot different. I also think that in Rich Dad Poor Dad, in the very beginning, the book, it was so cute. So the kids asked the dad, like, Dad, like, we want to be rich. Like, what do we do to be rich? This and that. And the dad's like, well, you need to come up with something that'll make you a lot of money. You know, like, in other words, like, get your creative juices flowing and figure out a product or something you can make that'll make you a lot of money. And you know how kids take everything either like super literal or they just have like no idea what you're talking about? Well, these kids in the book took it super literal, and they actually made or started making like legit money, like paper money. And so when the dad comes home, they were like, Dad, we like listened to your advice and we started to make money. And the dad's like, oh yeah, like that's cool, like let me see what you're doing. And then as soon as he sees what they're doing, he's like, well, that's very illegal, but good job on good job on being creative. And the dad like explained to them how it was illegal, but he also like congratulated them for being so creative. And that to me is cool, because I feel like your passion is sometimes like what you're creative about, and like you make your passion your own, and it's always so different. Like if me and someone else have the same podcast passion, it's so different because I'm not the other person. So I feel like it's so individual, and I love that about your passion, or like about other things that we ourselves can create. So I thought it was cool that they like made literal money and then learned it was illegal, but were congratulated for being creative. I love that. And I don't know if it's just me, but like I feel like money has such a negative like connotation to it. When someone's like, oh, like they're hecka rich, people are like, oh, they must be stuck up, or they must be like hecka snotty, or they must be this, or they must have all designer, like all this. And that to me is like purely what we see on social media, if I'm being completely honest. Like that's what we see on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of it. People that have a lot of money buy really, really expensive things. Maybe they use them, maybe they don't use them to their full capacity. Maybe they buy an expensive car and let it sit in the garage. I don't know. But growing up, definitely I was always told that. But as I get older, I'm like, well, yeah, like money can make somebody evil, but at the same time, like money is so much more than that. Like money, the book talks about like what's important is the money that you save. Is it making you money? And also like, is it being passed on? Like, what are you leaving for your kids, right? Like, I don't know, like the thought of that is kind of like scary. Like if you're making a lot of money, but you're not stuck up and you're not stubborn and you're not this and you're not that, like you're just a genuinely good person who has a lot of money and invests in like a lot of things, and maybe donates to charities and like does all these amazing things for the world, like how is that evil? Like it's not evil because they have a lot of money. It's just how you use it, how you invest it, what do you do with the money? I don't know if I'm explaining myself right. It's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around it, but it's definitely a question that like just brought out like so many thoughts, because growing up I definitely thought like if you were rich, like you were not a mean person, just like I wouldn't want to be your friend. Like that sounds so bad, but that's how I used to think. And now I don't view money that way. Like I definitely view money in a different light. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say I want to be rich. I just want to be well off to the point to where my family and I do not have to worry about anything. But at the same time, if I was ever to be rich, that's why I'm doing this. I want to learn how to invest my money. I want my money to make me money. Like, I want that to happen, but it's not so easy. Like, I've had to, like, really research, and this book is helping so much. Like I said, if you have not read this book, it is so good. And today, funny, talking about finances, I woke up, and on TikTok, I follow this coupon lady. I don't even know her name, but she is amazing. And I was like, you know what? I don't even remember. I think it was like 2 months ago. I downloaded 2 coupon apps. Like just one's called Ibotta and the other one's called, I think it's just like Great Coupons or something like that. And I was like, you know what? Like, there's so many things that I buy, shampoo, conditioner, like all this, anything, like hygiene products, anything, toothpaste. Why am I paying $7.99 for toothpaste? Like, I'm just throwing out a number. I don't know how much my toothpaste actually is, but I'm like, there's so many coupons and discounts that I'm just too lazy to look through or take the time to like actually look through. And that's why I'm spending all this extra money on stuff. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Grocery coupons? Are you kidding me? I get them in the mail like once a week. Are you kidding? I never look through them and I meal prep every week. And then I was like, Nicole, you could have been saving so much money. So now, because I'm determined to become more financially literate, and I have my book club, and I have this podcast, and I have all the necessary resources that I need to become successful at this, I'm going to do it. I woke up and I told my mom, I was like, Mom, as of this morning, I am going to start couponing. Now, I'm not talking about being like an extreme coupon person, but hey, saving hundreds of dollars ain't never hurt nobody, and that's how I feel. And I'm super excited, and I'm like, okay, to be honest, I'm a little bit scared, only because couponing can take a long time, like, to get the hang of it. But I feel like I'm able to catch on to things really, really quickly, and so I'm actually like really excited. After I record this, I'm actually going to the grocery store to get stuff to meal prep, and so I'm like just excited to see like how much I could save. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like if there's the resources out there for us to save all this money and we are just not taking advantage of it or utilizing them in some way, shape, or form, then I cannot complain about spending hella money on groceries when I have the resources in front of me. Literally, they're in my kitchen, on the table, sitting there, coupons after coupons, and I don't use them. Especially with things like meat. Meat can be so expensive, and I'm like, if we're just more strategic as to when we buy our meat, like with the coupon, and freeze it if you don't use it right away, are you kidding me? I could have saved a crap load of money. I buy meat like once a week because I use it for my meal prep: chicken, steak, ground turkey, ground beef, like whatever it is. So I'm like super excited about that. And I also really enjoy meal prepping because I do it with one of she's like my half sister, Marissa, and so it's like super fun that we do it together, and like we're accountability partners. And I actually bought a cookbook. It's called the Everything Macro Diet Cookbook. So it tells you like how many grams of fat, protein, carbs, like all that is in your meal that you're preparing, and then when you divide it, obviously like the numbers will change, but you just do the math and the numbers that they give you. And so our cookbook has been really handy, and we're doing a recipe out of it today. I made a pizza out of it for my family and they loved it. So I'm having fun with that. School still chugging along. We're done in May, so I'm like just hanging in there, really. It's not all terrible. I just have like one class that I really struggle with, but hey, we're gonna get it done. And then my travel, I kind of planned some tramps and I'm super excited about it. I'm like just trying to like utilize this year and as best as I can. Like, I know this year is not, and same with last year, was not what everybody expected, but we have to just do the best that we can every day, and you know, like take what you have and like run with it, like make the best out of every situation. That's how I've been trying to live life, at least this year as well, because I had like so many things planned last year that didn't work out, and I was like, you know what, this year it's go with the flow year. It's if it works out, it works out. If not, we're gonna make the best of the situation, and it's been working out pretty good. So I recommend that. But that's pretty much it for this episode number 10. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope that you guys are like vibing with me. I feel like I'm super into this, and I love that I have like consistent listeners, and it makes me so happy. So again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening to me on Mondays, or whatever day that you listen, on whatever form, whatever platform you listen to me on. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any ideas for episodes, or maybe any advice to give me, especially on this financially literate stuff, I would really appreciate that. Again, I'm still learning, and I'm always willing to take in other people's ideas. So by all means, please let me know. And again, I hope you guys have a great day, and never forget that there is always more.